This is Kite Cutter TV with another presentation. We gotta talk about this. Okay, guys, Pfizer pharmaceutical company claims they have a vaccine for COVID-19. The timing of this is very suspicious as this announcement is coming just days after the announcement of Joe Biden as president-elect. Maybe this is just a coincidence, but when you look deeper into it, you realize that this is payback for President Trump. Back in July 2018, Trump tweeted, Pfizer and others should be ashamed that they have raised drug prices for no reason. They are merely taking advantage of the poor and others unable to defend themselves, while at the same time giving bargain basement prices to other countries in Europe and elsewhere. We will respond. Pfizer knew if they announced just days earlier of the vaccine that this would almost have guaranteed a Trump victory. Also, on a side note, I want to share a Bible verse about these pharmaceutical companies that most people don't realize. Revelation chapter 18 gives a description of the fall of Babylon, and in verse 23, it gives us the reason why all nations were deceived. This may be shocking for many people. Let's read what the Bible says. Referring to the fall of Babylon, Revelation 18:23 says, And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. By the sorceries of Babylon, all nations were deceived. The Greek word for sorceries in verse 23 is far-mak-i. According to the Thayer Greek Dictionary, Pharmakeia is the use or administering of drugs, poisoning, and sorcery, magical arts often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it. If you put the original Greek word pharmakeia in place of the English word for sorceries, the end of verse 23 would say, For by thy pharmakeia were all nations deceived. Pharmakeia is where we get our English word pharmacy. Pharmacy is a well-organized and professionalized system that administers poisonous drugs. The Bible reveals that Babylon will deceive all nations by the use of pharmacy, and that is in connection to magical arts and idolatry. Magical arts has its deep roots in witchcraft and the occult world. We don't have to do a deep Bible study to know that Satan is directly behind the magical arts and God's people should have nothing to do with it. Professed deceived Christians today use magical arts under the guise of contemplative prayer, Christian humanism, and spiritual formation. In general, those involved in sorcery, witchcraft, and magic are known to use magic potions to heal, deceive, poison, control, or kill someone. That's very important. My brothers and sisters, be very wary of any vaccine that comes out as a result of coronavirus, as this could be a pretext for the mark of the beast. Check this out.
Pfizer makes a huge announcement about a coronavirus vaccine, and the timing is very suspicious. President Trump's coronavirus task force has been hard at work encouraging the speedy production of a COVID-19 vaccine. They threw trillions of dollars and thousands of researchers at the cause, and it's paying off. On Monday, Pfizer said they're on track to apply for the emergency use approval from the FDA later this month, and their vaccine is showing major promise, with a 90% effectiveness at preventing COVID. It's great news, but the timing is suspicious. It seems Pfizer may have held off on announcing this intentionally so Donald Trump could not promote the potential vaccine as a success story for his campaign. Much of Joe Biden's criticism of Donald Trump had to do with his handling of the coronavirus crisis. A big win with this vaccine would have been a boost for the president in a very tight race. Pfizer's Senior Vice President of Clinical Development, Dr. Bill Gruber, didn't comment on the suspicious timing exactly. He just said, We're in a position, potentially, to be able to offer some hope. We're very encouraged.
This is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Did hear some encouraging news today in the battle against the coronavirus pandemic. A vaccine with East Tennessee ties is showing better than expected results. The COVID-19 vaccine may be on its way to emergency approval.
10 News reporter Cole Sullivan shows us how it works and how people in East Tennessee help to make it happen.
It is a great day for science. It is a great day for humanity.
And it began in part here at UT Medical Center, and with a shot our own Robin Wilhoit received.
You ready?
Drug maker Pfizer says its COVID-19 vaccine is more than 90% effective in preventing virus infections.
A threshold of 75 percent would have been good enough to start discussions with the FDA.
The Pfizer shot is an mRNA vaccine, meaning unlike the shots we're used to, it does not contain the virus at all. Instead, it targets cells in your body. Think of it as like a messenger. It speaks to proteins and teaches them to produce antibodies on their own. It's not without drawbacks, as Robin learned 20 hours after her second shot.
I do have a fever. I just took it and it was 100.1.
Robin's mild side effects disappeared within a day. Researchers say the fast development has not compromised safety.
The safety of this has been under more scrutiny than almost any compound that's ever been developed.
When is it likely that you and I are going to get one of these shots?
It's going to be a while. You're younger and healthier, and I'm still functional. So the people that are going to get vaccinated first are the people that are at highest risk.
While it might take a while, researchers say this good news finally puts the end of the pandemic in sight. Reporting from Knoxville, I'm Cole Sullivan.
Now, the trial still needs volunteers. The group at UT Medical Center is especially interested in volunteers ages 16 to 18 and minorities. You can call the number on your screen to sign up. We also have a deeper dive into the trial and what it's like to participate in one that's online right now at WBIR.com.
Thanks, Dan. Some big health news today concerning the coronavirus. Pfizer announcing its COVID-19 vaccine is looking about 90% effective. That vaccine being tested in part right here on the Gulf Coast with clinical research in Mobile. Nicolette Schleisman joins us now with more on this very important breaking news.
It's a day and night change.
We first spoke with Dr. Glenn Borchard in August. He and his wife were taking part of the COVID-19 trial at Coastal Clinical Research.
The first shot went fine, but her second shot, she had a reaction. No reaction, she had an immune response. So she woke up, she has slight fever and some shakes, and it lasted a few hours. And then I had the exact same effect after my second shot about a week later. And I've never had a reaction to a vaccine before.
He now says they think they were both given the vaccine.
I was super excited to get my chance to get the vaccine early, and fortunately it looks like we did. So, I was happy, but again, I'm very happy that other people are going to have the opportunity now too.
And with news this morning announcing Pfizer believes their vaccine candidate is more than 90% effective in preventing COVID-19 in participants, Borchert, who's also studying coronavirus at South, says he's excited.
We were at an anxiety level of 10. I know everybody has been. And that went from a 10 to a 1 overnight.
Coastal Clinical Research cannot comment on the effectiveness of the trial they've seen here in Mobile, but Pfizer is the study sponsor.
You usually do not see a 90% efficacy rate for any vaccine.
There are still a few more steps Pfizer says they need to take before they can file for emergency use authorization.
In reality, before we see the vaccines, you're probably going to be looking at the end of the year for the Pfizer vaccine.
Borchert says it's been a relief being part of the clinical trial.
The way this goes away is people get vaccinated.
In Mobile, Nicolette Schleisman, WKRG News 5.
Yeah, hey, Cherie. Well, this is a revelation from the makers of the Pfizer vaccine. It's being studied in part right here at Children's Hospital. The effectiveness rate on this, 90%. Now, the threshold was just 50%, and we're hearing this could be a step forward for other vaccines, too.
Those making the Pfizer vaccine say positive results are more than an important day for the company.
It's a very important day for humanity.
Albert Barola is Pfizer's CEO. He says the early findings are nothing short of historic.
I think that likely, based on impact, that will be the greatest medical advance in the last 100 years, if you think about it, right?
The Pfizer vaccine is being studied at Children's Hospital, along with several other sites. The 90% effectiveness result is so welcome, even researchers working on competing vaccines are saying things like this.
My reaction immediately is one of real relief and joy, because it's the first kind of silver lining we've had, truly, I think, in this pandemic.
Dr. Carl Fichtenbaum is with the UC College of Medicine working on the Moderna vaccine. His research team is very interested in the findings of the Pfizer vaccine because The two methods use a similar approach.
Which is very, very good news for this kind of approach, because what it says is that targeting the very outside of the virus, what's called the spike protein, is the right thing to do.
The Moderna study hasn't released initial findings, but could soon, along with other vaccines targeting the spike protein.
So that makes us hopeful that we'll have more than just one vaccine that works.
And the only thing better than a vaccine with 90% effectiveness is several of them that can do the same thing. Now they're hoping, as a timeline goes, that maybe they could begin some mass vaccinations by early next year. However, if they get an emergency declaration, they could be giving out some of the vaccines on a limited basis before that to folks like frontline workers, healthcare workers. So we'll keep an eye on that to see how it develops. Reporting live, Brian Hemrick, WLWT News 5.
Brian, the Moderna study there at UC College of Medicine you were referring to is getting, I know, close to having results too. Did they give you any indication of when we might hear what their findings are?
Yeah, well, they tell me they think within maybe 2 weeks they could be getting some results back on the Moderna vaccine just across the street here at UC College of Medicine. And since they, too, use this spike protein, they're hoping they get similar results. Cherie?
Brian Hamrick reporting live for us tonight. Brian, thanks. Fine.
The last hurdle of a decade-long compensation claim battle. 17-year-old Shamsu undergoes a DNA test to prove he's a victim of a failed drug trial by the pharmaceutical company Pfizer that happened 15 years ago in Kano State, Nigeria. 11 children were killed and several more injured when Pfizer tested out a drug called Trovan on 200 children. The drug was supposed to treat a deadly regional outbreak of meningitis. Pfizer agreed to pay $75 million in compensation in 2009, but they introduced DNA testing as part of the process for qualifying for the payment. Back at home, survivors like Shamsu, who was crippled, and their families feel the DNA test is designed to deny them of the compensation money. Many say they've already provided Pfizer with documents proving their children were part of the trial.
In the claimant form we filled, they stated clearly that only when we undergo a DNA test, they will pay the compensation.
Pfizer, which denies all wrongdoing, even though it's agreed to pay out $75 million, says the DNA test is designed to guard against fraudulent claims.
As we're talking, we've collected samples from 547 people, and only 200 people participated in the study. So what do?
But many of the victims are poor and illiterate. They don't understand what DNA testing is and fear it's another attempt by Pfizer to make them guinea pigs in a new drug trial. Some victims abandoned their claims when DNA testing was introduced as a condition of receiving payment.
Some of the compensation money released by Pfizer has gone into building this $25 million medical research and disease control center. The hope is that one day locals will be able to deal with things like outbreaks of disease and medical epidemics themselves.
It may go some way to healing the wounds of Pfizer's experiment and benefit the survivors who are simply too afraid to go for DNA testing. Yvonne Dege, Al Jazeera, Kano State in northern Nigeria.
Well, Pfizer, the drug maker, will pay a $2.3 billion civil penalty in connection with illegal prescription drug promotions. Justice Department Associate Attorney General Tom Pirelli holding a news conference right now. You see him speaking there on your screen live in Washington. He's announcing the terms of that deal. Now, the allegations involved in the suit dealt with the marketing of its recalled Bextra painkiller and 3 other medicines, including the pain pill Lyrica, the Geodon schizophrenia treatment, and Zybox, which is used for infections. Pfizer, which makes those drugs, will plead guilty to 1 criminal count stemming from the improper promotion of Bextra, and they'll pay a $1.3 billion penalty. Overall, that drug settlement, as you see there, $2.3 billion.
Pharmaceutical giant Pfizer is facing an escalating number of lawsuits by women who contend that the company knew about possible serious side effects of its blockbuster anti-cholesterol drug Lipitor, but never properly warned the public. Lawsuits began to be filed not long after the Food and Drug Administration warned in 2012 that Lipitor and other statins had been linked to incidents of memory loss and a small increased risk of diabetes. The recent jump in lawsuits followed a decision by a federal judicial panel to consolidate all Lipitor diabetes lawsuits from around the country into a single federal courtroom in South Carolina. It is not uncommon for a drug maker to get hit with thousands of lawsuits over products that the FDA orders a label change that alerts users to newly found risks. Lipitor is the best-selling prescription drug of all time, racking up global sales of more than $130 billion since it went on the market in 1996. More than 29 million patients in the United States alone have been prescribed the drug, suggesting there is a vast pool of potential plaintiffs. Pfizer said in a statement that it denied liability.
When we go to the doctor with a problem, the doctor may prescribe medication to treat or cure the problem. But what happens when you are prescribed a medication for a different use than the one it was approved for? Neurontin, manufactured by Pfizer, was approved by the FDA to help control seizures associated with epilepsy. However, Pfizer began promoting the drug for 11 different uses not approved by the FDA. Neurontin has many side effects, but by far the most dangerous side effect is suicidal thoughts. Many people have successfully sued Pfizer for promoting Neurontin for uses other than what it was approved. If you were prescribed Neurontin for anything other than add-on treatment for controlling partial seizures associated with epilepsy or for the management of postherpetic neuralgia caused by shingles and later developed a side effect, contact an experienced legal professional today.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, God bless. Peace.